that's gonna ruin Thanksgiving. Right. That's gonna ruin the pictures.
It's gonna make auntie uncomfortable.
Make auntie uncomfortable. And it's like, regardless if we're speaking about it, regardless if, you know, it's out in the open, all of us are uncomfortable anyway. You know, internally.
True.
Whether it's getting expressed, we're all uncomfortable. We're all suffering, you know. And for me, I see restoration for my family, right? Yeah. I see restoration for my family situation. And it starts, you know, once again, people before me, when you talk about breaking generational curses, my grandfather on my dad's side, he was incarcerated, right? My dad, he was incarcerated. So me just being a free black man right now, I'm already breaking generational curses.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Perspective. I'm your host, Tyrell Patterson. And as you know, Perspective is a space where you and I learn life-changing principles, apply them to our daily lives to transform the world around you. And on this installment of Family Ties, I have my good friend, Brandon McNeal. What's going on, Brandon?
Yes, sir. What's happening?
You good?
I'm great, man.
Bro, this has been a long time coming.
Long time coming. Even today was a long time coming.
Absolutely. For real.
So,
man, but I'm glad we finally made it happen.
Man.
We're here now. I gotta ask you, bro. On Perspective, I love music. I try to use very creative tracks, even in the background in my editing process. And I grew up playing drums, dancing, all that stuff, and I love music. So I gotta ask you, give me some top artists and songs on rotation on your playlist right now.
On the playlist right now, so I start off in the morning. I got to get my praise and worship in.
Okay.
You know, so I have me an uplifting playlist. Fred Hammond, Kurt Franklin, they all throughout their playlist. But then, you know, when I get done with that, I gotta holler at Lil Baby. You know, that's my dog. We paid gold double platinum myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, for sure.
A million plays.
I spent the block, spent it till I got dizzy. For sure. So I'm waiting on my 4PF chain for Lil Baby. You know what I'm saying? COVID, it kind of slowed it down, but like, I'm in the game now. For sure, 4PF. But Big 30, he hard too, for sure. ESTG, I like him. Gotta mess with my boy Meek.
Okay.
Big Sean.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, it's a little mixture. It just depends on where I'm at, like what I need from that music from that time. So you know, if I'm, you know, like just chilling, I'm gonna throw the R&B, the old school on. But you know, if I'm just like active, let me get the trap rap.
Work out. Okay.
I need that trap rap.
Got to, bro. Sure. On my workout, sometimes I'll throw on, I think, Aha Giselle. Nasty, bro. He's dope. Nice. Toby Nwiwi.
Hey,
that's probably my favorite rapper right now.
Man,
definitely. This month, honestly, and this fall on Perspective, we're focusing really in on like family ties, origins, family dynamics, and man, you sit in a very unique seat. If y'all don't know who Brandon is, great man, great guy, brilliant mind, someone who has progressed through life's journey through different stages. You still sit in a place of being the middle, a bridge to one generation to the next. We're recording right now at your home, right? And we'll get into that journey and what that was like for you. But just give us a little introduction to like just like where you're at right now, what's your world look like, what you enjoy, what you do for a living. But yeah, just give us a little background on you.
From Birmingham, Alabama. Yeah. The west side of Birmingham, Alabama.
Well, hold on. What does that mean? What does that mean?
I'm not from the north. I'm not from the east. I'm not from the south side. I'm from the west side. Okay. And that's what we claim. You know, west side, the best side. Okay. For sure. You know, so shout out to West End specifically because there's a lot of cities on the west side of Birmingham, but I'm from West End. So yeah, I love West End. It's always gonna be what I rep. Hardly home, always repping, baby. Okay. Yes, sir. What my world looks like on the day to day is just it's sporadic, man. Yeah. It could be, you know, very structured, or it can be like very all over the place. And the reason I say that is just because I'm not only responsible for myself. Right now, I'm stepping into different roles, like in my life, personal life, where I'm responsible for my grandmother. Like, you know, even when we're getting ready for this shoot, I get a call, you know, like, hey, your grandma just fell. She may be in the hospital. So it's just, you know, things like that can kind of just throw off the normality of your day. Where, you know, when you're just considering yourself and your routine, and it's like, well, wait a minute, like, something just come up like that, or you know, a cousin can call, and it's like, or you know, whoever that's in my life, because at the end of the day, it's not just about me, and I want to be a servant to other people. So sometimes that stops my day.
Right, but, I can fill your schedule up a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. But you know what I do for a living? I'm a cyber engineer, and that's what kind of brought me out here to Texas.
Okay.
Relocated me here to McKinney. And what I love to do for hobbies, man, sports. I love sports, obviously. Play basketball. I love basketball. I'm very passionate about it. I love music as well, sightseeing. Let me sometimes just get on my bike and I just ride, you know, and just really just take in just nature, man.
Right. Hey, can't beat it.
Hey, you can't, you know, and
like it.
Man, like really, bro, I think COVID really took a lot of things from people, which had to make you have to discover like new things. Yeah. So like it was just like a rediscovery period for me. Yeah. Where like now it's like, all right, man, you just can't be around people all the time. You know what I'm saying? You can't just go to the club. You can't just go here. You know, you got to find out like what do you really like to do. Right. And for me, man, like that was like a good period for me. You know, just riding on that bike, man, like really just having time to sit with my thoughts.
Bro, there's nothing like getting around nature or getting in nature, you know, clear your mind, be able to take in honestly beautiful aspects of God's goodness in nature. A moment ago you said cyber engineer. Yeah. Right. So where did that come from? Like what did you study in school? Or where did that desire? How did you land there?
That's crazy, man. So really, man, shout out to my HBCU. Okay. For sure. I look in the camera for this. Alabama A&M, man. I'm repping for sure, man. I'm a Bulldog for life. Yeah, man. Went to Alabama A&M. I majored in electrical engineering. Okay. There, and I had a concentration in computer engineering. Okay. And upon like graduating, I got hired at my job that I'm at now. And pretty much I wasn't supposed to be in cybersecurity. But my manager that I'm currently working for now, he needed me there in that role. So my background was in electrical engineering, but my job experience is in cybersecurity. So, you know, it's kind of a hard transition there because it's like you're doing a job that you have no background in. And I didn't learn that until like literally a week before I started. So, you know, I was literally hired into system engineering department. And he's like, yeah, you know, I get a call from HR. You're not going to go that route. You're actually going to go another route. So didn't have much time to prepare. Wow. I get into that.
A week is not much time.
You know, like I didn't have much time to prepare. So, I mean, I'm just all in uncomfortable and uncharted territories, not only just in my job, but where I'm at, because now I'm removed from everyone I know, every place that I'm familiar with. I'm also doing something that I've never done, and I have no background in what I'm doing, and I'm expected to perform, you know? So, that was a tough period for me, honestly, just really transitioning from Birmingham, Alabama to Texas, man. And it was a bigger move mentally than physically.
I can see that.
Yeah, it was a bigger move mentally than physically. And people don't really understand that sometimes you can actually move, but if you don't move mentally, you're still there.
What was it like, you know, just your upbringing a little bit, in household environment, school, things like that? What was that like growing up?
I can say one thing, it's nothing like where I'm at today. So it's a complete opposite of like where I'm from, man. So like where we at now, where we shooting, this type of home, you know, I didn't grow up in that type of home, or this type of environment, I didn't grow up in that type of environment. And you know, West End is like, you know, pretty much any other hood. It's filled with like violence, it's filled with drugs. It's filled with a lot of poverty. It's filled with a lot of, you know, a lot of things that just the hood produces. So I think in my family dynamic, it kind of kept me sheltered from a lot of that. Even though I was exposed to it, I wasn't engulfed in it. And that's just due to just coming up in a good household. But at the same time, it's only so much that good upbringing can keep you from. You know, the environment itself, it really starts to shape you, because it's only a certain way that it's kind of a way that you have to be to survive there. Right. You know, so you know, on one hand, you got my mom and my family and faith and family oriented. And then when you step outside, it's like a lot of that don't translate. You know what I'm saying? Because it's different. You know, it's different when you step outside. You can't just, you know, go about it thinking everyone's looking at you in the way that, you know, the lens you're looking from. So if you're looking from a faith lens, right? Love thy brother, you know, love thy enemy, pray for people that spitefully use you. If you're looking from that perspective, but the people that you're in that environment with are not necessarily looking from that lens, then of course there's a clash there.
Right.
And that type of stuff causes you to be in the middle, you know, internally, to like which person or which lens are you looking through, and that means like which way are we operating.
Right.
So, you know, in a church setting, you know what I'm saying, you can be that way, but in school you might have to be different because that doesn't work there.
Right.
You know, it's a different type of code there.
Right.
You know, so it's challenging. You know, it's complex.
Bro, speak to that for a moment, because a moment ago you said transitioning here, your job is what brought you here. Yeah. And even that's how we met. I think it was like your first few months here. Yeah. And the church we were both going to, I was with the high school students and the youth, and I saw you walking out, and and anytime I saw a new face, I was like, hey, what's up? How you doing? So I asked your name, connected with you for a moment, and showed you around a little bit, traded numbers, and from there, bro, it was kind of like history. So going on 2 years now.
2 years, man.
And so when you said a moment ago about you can leave a place, but if you don't transition mentally, then you're still stuck there. So can you speak to what that was like to have transitioned to McKinney, right? But then still, whether it's relationships that are still there, whether it's different experiences you had, speak to what that was like and that tension.
Man, it's so much tension, man. And the tension comes from multiple places. So it comes internally and then it comes externally. I think, and you have to learn how to navigate both, because I mean, what you're doing, you're really trying to learn how to outgrow your expectations of yourself.
Wow.
I think that's the first thing. So because like when you're defined as something, or like, you know, you're expected to be something by people or even yourself, then once you move counter to that, now you start creating tension. So if like for me, you know, I'm a jokester, you know, like in college, you know, I was like smooth player. It's like, this is how you is, this is how you wired. So like, well, once you go contrary to that, or you trying to, you know, be mature, or, you know, you've maybe developed in your faith, and now some of the things that you once were cool with is no longer cool with.
Right.
Now it's like, wait a minute, it's tension there. Not only externally from the people that, you know, you're centered around, but with you, because you have expected yourself to behave in this way. You have expected yourself to think in this way. So I think that space is a hard space to navigate, and really you have to go through a process of unlearning.
And what was that unlearning like for you? Moving here, being exposed to different environments. What was that like?
It was crazy. And I can even use it in an example with us and our relationship and how it developed. Yeah. Because just like you said, you made the initial effort to create that relationship and create that space. Well, the other side of that is that you did provide community, you did provide opportunities, but I was so slow to come around. You told me, hey man, I got a men's group called Two or More, man. This is in June.
Right.
I don't come to a session to December.
Facts. That's true.
To December. You get what I'm saying? But the unlearning in that was, you know, really because where I'm from, you don't have new friends.
Right, you don't make no new friends.
No new friends. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, we can have a cordial relationship. I can be decent to people, but I'm not about to really connect with anyone on a personal level, because my friends that I already have are the friends I'm gonna die with. Ride or die. We for life. That's it. So the hard part about that is that when those relationships that you fostered and you nurtured and you poured into, they're all 14 or 10 hours away from you. And now those relationships are still there. They're still present, you know, mentally and emotionally. Like, yeah, you can still call, but they're not there to navigate the day-to-day life with you no longer. Right. Just because life has pulled y'all in different directions.
Right. And based off like your current day context and setting, the challenges of then are different now. Right. And the needs now are different from when they were then.
Right.
And so it's like, it's a conflict too, because if you do try to reach back and still try to foster or curate a relationship that no longer has the same position or purpose, you miss out on the new opportunity of the relationships that are in front of you that maybe are exactly what you need, or maybe within that relationship lies the answers that some things that we may be looking for.
Absolutely, man. And I think just like, you know, people say exposure adds expansion, right?
Yeah.
Well, just being,
shout out I am athlete. Yeah, for sure.
I am athlete. But it does, and even just exposure to new people and new perspectives and new, you know, doctrine, it just really widens like your perspective. And, you know, like people, when we're all from the same place, we've all pretty much gone through similar things, not you know, the same thing, but, you know, similar things, similar circumstances. It's only so far our perspective is going to expand because of just we're in this pot, right? But if you meet someone that's outside of that pot, they have a different life, they have a different perspective, they have like, so now it's able to literally add to what you have, right? And sometimes, like, because we're unwilling to be exposed to new people, we're also unwilling to expand our perspective. So, like, that's why, you get what I'm saying? So, like, that's why the no new friends mantra for me had to be unlearned. And then also, you know, you up here like lonely, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, well, no new friends. Like, you know what I'm saying? No new friends. No new friends, but no friends at all now because it's just me. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, one of my partners, he came up here, right? And he came to visit, one of my closest friends. And man, he was like, "Oh, who you hang out with?" Like, who you hang out with up here, bro? And you know what I'm saying? I got kind of quiet. I just looked at him, you know, and he was like, "Bro, what about these people I know you be talking about?" I'm like, "Yeah, I see them in passing." And he's like, "Oh, what about the people at the church?" I'm like, "I see them at church." He's like, "So you don't hang out with nobody? Like nobody don't come over and nothing like that?" I'm like, "Nah." He's like, "Why?" I said, "Cause my friends at home." He said, "Bro, we 10 hours away. We can do nothing for you." And like that was one of the moments where I really realized, like, even though that was my norm, and that is how I naturally navigated, that a change needed to be made, because life is not meant for you to do alone, and that just really had to be unlearned, man. So that was like one of the biggest, the hardest transitions just for me socially, like socially. And I mean, you go through so many other ones, like even at work, you know, where I'm from, you talk to outwork people, you know, because we don't have as much as that person has. So you got to double grind, you know. So like you come in here, you finna put it all on the line. And for me, you know, it's no plan B. You know what I'm saying? So like if I don't make something for myself, I got to go back to where I come from. I got to go back to, you know, hearing gunshots at night. I got to go back to being in that type of environment. So I remember one time telling my boss, you know, I'm there late, I'm there in the morning, I'm early, I'm leaving late. And he just like was asking me like, what's really the difference between me and the other people that's there? He's like, man, it seems like you a little more invested and more serious than most people that come on.
But he went there.
Exactly. He just was trying to get to know me.
He's ready for the answer.
And I just said, man, the difference is that this is my only way to be here. Like somebody else may have a family member that they can call if, you know, they need help with the bills. I don't. You know, somebody may have, like, their family economic may be set up to a way that, you know, if they didn't go to college, if they didn't do this and they didn't do that, they could still live a comfortable life. For me, I don't have that, you know, opportunity. So it's all on me to show up. So when I'm showing up with that in mind. Like, hey, if I don't get it done today, then I'm back to there. And it's no, you know, and I can't allow that to happen, you know. So for me, I have a different perspective, but that's rooted in being very competitive, right? In the workspace, it's about collaboration, not competition. So that mantra there had to be unlearned. Even in a workspace. Because now I'm coming in and I'm like, I'm going to be the best that I can be. But what is that echoing to the team?
Exactly. So he's like, hey, Brandon, we don't need you to compete. We need you to help complete
Right. Yeah. So for me, being competitive, I'm ultra competitive. It's like I'm not trying to step on people's toes, but I am trying to let you know that what I'm worth and what I bring. Right. But it's how you go about that.
Right.
And one of the biggest things that changed my perspective on that is once we got to the end of the year, and you're doing write-ups on your teammates, that goes into what your
annual, your review,
your raise is gonna be.
Yeah.
What? Not how hard you work. Yeah, that's a part of it. But what your teammates think of you.
Right.
So it changed the perspective about, I got to be the best, to I need to learn how to navigate these relationships.
Yeah.
And that was something that had to be unlearned, right? Because as a black man, they teach you come to work, you go home, you do your job. That's it.
Nothing more, nothing less.
Nothing more, nothing less. But you don't connect with people. You don't collaborate with people. You don't do any of these things. So you basically are taught everything that doesn't help you elevate in that culture.
And grow.
In that culture.
Yep.
And that's how you make it in the hood.
Right.
This is how you make it in corporate America.
Yeah.
This is counter to right here. You get what I'm saying? So it's like a lot of stuff that's great for where you from, like, is not good for where you at.
Right.
And then you have to give yourself the permission to outgrow those mantras.
Bro, speaking of outgrowing, because speak to when you are in moments where you've been there for someone else, always being the one people call. Yeah. Always the one you say, I come into work and I'm there late, and so don't realize that, hey, I'm coming into work with about 2 to 3 generations on my back. I'm coming to work with as a bridge for what was in my family and those norms to I have to go create what can be, and I don't have a choice. Man, I'm the first to graduate school, first to get a solid career, first to buy a house. By age
26.
At age 26, man, exactly. Being in a place where no one else has been in my family. So I have to. There is no choice for me. But speak to whenever you have friendships or connections and they speak from where you were, but they really don't get. They really don't get where you're going, where you are, and where you're going. Speak to that tension like that when it comes to relationships.
Man, it's a tension that you really. Well, you can understand, but the other party won't understand until they get to where you're at. And what it does is it really challenges the friendship to the core. Because just like you said, some people are conducive for where you were, but may not be conducive to where you're going.
Right.
And, when you're family oriented, when you're legacy oriented, when, you are taking into consideration that, hey, I'm trying to break a generational curse, or, hey, I am trying to create generational wealth. It's a certain way that you get those things done. And it's not just through you. It's through everyone that's around you. It's through the energy that you're entertaining. It's through what you're intaking. And, some people will take that personal. You get what I'm saying? Like, well, hey, you're not conducive to what I'm leading to or what I'm leaning into. And I'm going to have to either, set a boundary around that relationship, or I'm going to have to remove myself from that relationship.
Right. It's people placement. It really is. It's just kind of knowing how to position versus off the purpose of that relationship.
Absolutely.
And the position you're in life and season you're in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's like, it hurts, right? Like it hurts for sure. It definitely hurts, and it's not an easy thing to do when, even just to set boundaries, because like I'm the type of person that I'm all in. Like I'm like 100% or nothing. So it's no boundaries with me. It's like if it's you need something from me, you my boy, you got it. If I got it, you got it. Yeah. Like, hey, you get the shirt on my back, you can get the shoes on my feet. If it's some money you need, like, it don't matter what it is. So, but as you transcend in life, if you don't have those boundaries set in place, you can't protect the growth that you've encountered. So it's counterproductive to your personal development. Yeah. And that person won't ever be offended by that. But knowing, what you've worked worked for, the challenges that you overcame, the pressure that's on your back, you know, what you are aiming to, you will take offense to it because it's like, hey man, this is hindering me.
Yeah.
And hindering me is not only just taking away from Brandon, it's taking away from the future generations and the things that I'm working to build upon.
Exactly.
So it's bigger than me. You know, that's my whole mantra. It's always bigger than me. It's not about me.
Yeah, and it's not easy coming to that conclusion to where you're like, you know what? I appreciate the relationship that has been. I appreciate where we've come from. I think one of the biggest misconceptions of any relationships and friendships is that time invested means the quality of what was produced, and it's not. It's like, yo, we've been holding it down since 3rd grade. That's great. That's amazing. But I think Eric Thomas, E.T. said at the time, he's like, you owe nothing to anyone. And so it's like, great. But he's like, if they keep calling me, I'm gonna have to send an invoice too. He's like, you can have me for 2 hours, but best believe you're paying as well. Why? He's like, because at this point, I don't have the time and energy to invest in something that is not growing and something that is not advancing. And it's not to be completely like advantageous by any means, because some people will have relationships they hold on to, and they will be as relevant to that person long enough to continue to have the benefits that they get from the person. As soon as those benefits are gone, then they gone. And so it's like having boundaries also allows you to vet those who are truly for you versus what you can do for them. And so I think as we circulate even back to family, sometimes it's hard for family to learn that, hey, this is not the Brandon that you knew 5 years ago. Hey, this is not the Tyrell that you knew 6 years ago, 5 months ago. And so what is it like having to reintroduce who you are to your family? Like, what is that like?
It's tough, man. It's tough because, like I said, when it go back to culture, it goes back to environment, going to where you from. Essentially, everything is preset. And what I mean by that is the way you think is preset. You know, what type of clothes, what would you do in this situation? Like, what's deemed real? What's deemed fake? What's deemed this? What's deemed that?
It's all set in place for you.
It's all preset for you. And, you know, so like in your family, the same. You know, it's like, okay, this is how, this is who, and this is what you're going to be, you know, because you are defined. Like, that's what people don't really understand. We're all competing against definitions.
So you telling me, you said growing up, we're battling against definitions.
And what I mean by that, man, is that definitions are what define us. And what defines us produces our identity. So, I mean, essentially, you think about it. Everybody wants to be considered real. Everybody wants to be considered cool. Everybody wants to be accepted. But the thing about the culture is that what are the definitions of real? You know, so like in my culture, from my hood, you real if you in the streets. You know, you real if, you know, you slap spot from somebody, or you real if, you know, you told.
Right. You ain't take no mess from somebody.
You take no mess from nobody. Or, you know,
family.
You getting money, but like, how are you getting money? Are you getting money, you know, and you're destroying the community in the process, you know, because you filling it with drugs, you know, and it's like that type of stuff. It's like, yeah, those things are deemed real, right? But what is that creating, you know, in those people that's aiming to be real? So it's continued because people are chasing that. They're not chasing a lifestyle. Like if a kid sees, you know, a dude selling drugs, he may be like super like infatuated with them, but he's not infatuated with the lifestyle.
What the process and the how.
He doesn't even know the lifestyle. He just sees how that person is respected in that community, how he's looked at, what he has. That's it. So he wants just that identity. But he, at the early age of that, he's not really, you know, in tune with the process and what that does for his life.
Right. And the association that's built with, okay, I see a nice vehicle, a nice car being drove. I see respect that he gets from others. I see that he actually gives to charity as well. Now they've created an association for aspired success to be by way of being a drug dealer or a big boss in the neighborhood.
You know, even a hitter, you know, like people that's killing people, they respect it. You know, like if you will shoot somebody, you respect it. That's a real, you know, like they'll say, hey man, he'll take your life. Like, yeah, he a savage, he cool, you know. And the thing is too, a lot of things are interconnected, you know, like from women to men, men to women. So ultimately, you know, a man wants to be valued by a woman, and a woman wants to be valued by a man. No matter how much people try to sit up here and be like, I don't care what a man thinks, I don't think what a woman. Yes, you do. Right. You know, like, you do. Keep it about you. Keep it real. You know what I'm saying? You do. Like, you want to have a woman that like you. But the thing is that we set the market for the other sex. So if a woman says, I like a street cat, then a lot of men are going to go out here and aspire to be that because they're valued. So if a man says he want a woman with a big booty and, you know, it's going crazy back there and all of that, women gonna go after that. Right. So like it's a societal thing too, but like what we're placing value on, you know, like that is creating a lot of the havoc. It's not just like, oh, this kid just becomes this, you know, or this young woman just becomes this. It's a bigger and a deeper rooted issue in the way we are setting our values and our principles and really like how we are defining things. But what if we, you know, once again, redefine things, right? Yeah. But the first thing before you can even do that, you have to unlearn the things that that are already there. Yeah, you literally have to let go. Like you have to let go of what you held as the identity, or we have to let go of the way we want it to be perceived, or how we aspire to gain success. Whatever those ideas are, whatever our confidence was standing on, we have to literally relinquish that. Yes. And if we don't let go of that, then we miss out on what we could receive in exchange. Absolutely. I mean, we were just talking about this the other night on a live session. We were talking about, you know, if you free up yourself of the mental obligations of what you think people need from you, and you free up all these ideals that have been informed by your background and your generations past and your household, whether it was dysfunctional, whether it was a household that was like the Cosbys, the Huxtables, and you had everything right and you did everything right, did all the right things, but still you hold people's value to what their profession is, which is in part. It's not even the totality of who somebody is. It takes time, man. It does, man. And I mean, it starts. You can't just, you know, get it all at once. You have to just gradually eat at it. You know, it's like an iceberg. You gotta chisel it. You know, you can't just melt it. You know, right. And I think that's what we have to just start doing. But I think really valuing one another, not just, you know, man to man, woman to woman, but man, woman, man. I think that is what really will start creating that change. And I think a lot of things is that we're objectifying one another.
You live in Collin County. Okay. You went from Birmingham, Alabama to living in Collin County, one of the wealthiest counties and highly sought after counties in the nation. And a lot of families are wanting to move to the Friscos, to the Planos, to the McKinneys, to the Allens, to the Prospers, to the Little Elms, because they want their kids to be in a thriving environment in a community, to see other outlooks and options to become whoever they desire to become. And I think that's why a lot of generations and families who have made it out of situations that even like your background of made it out, they want their kids to understand, like, hey, that's real and that happened, but that's not where we start. That's where I started. Where I am now is where you start. And so you have an advantage, and you have a decision to make. Do you want to take full advantage and see all these options and maximize those opportunities, or do you want to settle for less than? Because honestly, there's sometimes in suburban life, I grew up, I would say probably middle America, modest. Like I grew up in a lot of environments, and there was a lot of kids who didn't grow up in the hood, but they aspired. They wanted to be in those environments. Their parents did all the right things, and they're like, I want to go to that side of town. Like I want to go to traps. I want to go to the parties. I want to go where they're shooting. And it's like, what do you feel like you're missing? And so there's always I think this interesting like misconception as well, as far as if you didn't have any like really hard life struggles, as if that's a knock on you, and it's not. It's a testament to the things you couldn't control, which is maybe your parents, the environment. A lot of people are products of their environment, but it shouldn't be a knock on whether you came up in a very wealthy family or you came up in a very poor family, you came up in a middle America, middle established family. I think it's everyone owning their process and finding out, man, what is my life's mission? What is my life's purpose? That's the equalizer. What you're made for, what you're created for. Man. And so where you're from shouldn't define where you're going. You get to define where you're going regardless of where you're from.
Man, that's good, bro. And I mean, coming from where I come from, I would absolutely say, like, we had the craziest thing. Like, we trauma bond, we struggle bond so much.
Hold on, say that again. Like, you guys say that a little slower.
We trauma and struggle bond. Like, it's like,
wow,
it's bonding through our traumatic experiences, and it's almost by default. Because just like you said, we can't control the environment that we're in. And, you know, even if you just want to think, you know, a little spiritually into it, none of us are in control of like anything, obviously. God is in control of all things. But I think that was one of the biggest lessons I learned, like just as I've grew in my faith, is that how much I'm really not in control. If you really think about it, like, you didn't choose your name, right? Like, you didn't choose like your height, you didn't choose like your weight, you didn't choose what family you grew in, you know, you didn't choose where y'all were located, you know, you didn't even choose the people that you came in contact with. You know what I'm saying? So you didn't choose none of that. But we have this concept that, you know, we're in so much control. You know, like, you don't even choose the DNA that's flowing through your brain, you know, your brain, your body, and your blood.
Right.
You didn't choose none of that. You know, like, that was all preset, given before you even got here. So, you know, like, in that same token, it's like none of us are really choosing. We're taking what we're given, and then we have to make the best of, you know, that. Now, I mean, obviously, like, life throws curveballs, you know, life throws, you know, a lot of things at you. But it's really just about how you play the hand that you have. And like, that trauma bonding thing, man, it's so funny, bro, because it's like black people, the only people that try to like out struggle another person. Like, man, I had water for dinner, man, I had sleep for dinner,
man, like, I had air for dinner, and it's so hard. At least you had dinner. I ain't ate in 2 weeks.
Right, you know what I'm saying? So it's like
how are you here, bro?
It's like, bro,
we had roaches, we had rats, we had holes in the floor. Right. Like, my cousin was a rat.
He told his day one partner, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, real life rat. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy, bro, like that. But that's our mantra. But why do we try to go after that? Because that is deemed as real. Right.
That's what's esteemed and valued.
Right, it's esteemed.
So you try to embody that. whatever, yeah.
Exactly. So once again, we have to really get to any place of growth, we have to start redefining things, man.
And bro, speaking of redefining, so talk to how your relationship with God, your relationship with Christ has impacted your evolution and growth. Because being a young man, getting into a house process, I remember the house we're in right now, you've been in for a while now, talked about it, even Collin County, the property values have went up.
Yeah, man.
Insurmountably. And so being put in a position to decide whether to keep or sell, or speak to the process of how your faith has helped you navigate uncharted territory, things you never thought you'd even have to encounter, right? In your work environment, right? With people, or just even getting into a home process and not having to be seen as better than others, right? How has your faith helped you chart those uncharted territory?
Well, I mean, faith is uncharted territories because it's the substance of things unseen, right?
That's true.
For.
Yeah.
So if you can see it, if you can, like, you know, really articulate it, I don't think you're really using faith. You're using logic. And I feel like faith is logic's biggest enemy. Its biggest enemy.
Right.
You know, it's like,
it's true.
Yeah, you know, like, they sit on two different sides. You know, faith is here and logic is here. A lot of times logic keeps you from looking through the lens of faith, and sometimes faith keeps you from looking through the lens of logic. So so it's like, you know, I think, but faith for me is my biggest investment. I look at faith as an investment. You know, you talked about the home that I'm in, you know, and it's a down payment on a home to get in, it's closing costs. But the real payment that I made on this home was the faith that I had 10 years ago.
Wow.
So that, it's an investment. Like I don't, you talk about stocks, you talk about crypto, like all these people talking about investments, but the thing that is the biggest investment is your faith. And it can accrue in value in ways that you can never imagine.
Right.
People think about 100% gain, it's boundless how much, your faith can accrue in value. And like the vision that I had 10 years ago is, was a down payment on what I have today, right?
And what did that vision kind of look like for you 10 years ago?
For 10 years ago, 10 years ago, I was in the roughest part of my life. Pretty much, I looked like I wasn't going to be anything. I looked like, I looked like my environment. I looked like my circumstances. I looked like pretty much a regular black kid that was left, by his father, left by his friends, and it's just like, well, you're not gonna really be much. You're not gonna really, a statistic. I really looked like that. 10 years ago, I was kicked out of school. I wasn't at Ramsey High School. I was kicked off the basketball team. I was kicked out the house. I was pretty much deemed a problem child.
Wow.
And some by my fault, some by, some adult decisions too. But what I chose to believe in that moment was, in the lowest moments of my life, was that I'm going to believe what God said about me over what other people are saying about me, and even what I'm starting to believe about myself.
Wow.
So that investment right there in my faith is what even allow any of this to come apart. And that's why I say,
reaping that benefit now.
So because if I didn't have the faith to speak to those circumstances where everything that I had was gone, like the respect that I had, the normalcy of my life was pretty much taken away. The success of my life was taken away. My reputation was taken away. Everything was taken away. Let's just say that.
Sure.
And if I didn't have the faith to look into that circumstance and say, I'm not going to believe what life is showing me.
Right.
I'm going to believe what God has told me about myself, even though I couldn't see it.
Right. I'm not going to believe these labels, this identity.
Right.
That's not who I am.
That's not who I am. So I'm not my mistake. I'm not my circumstance. I'm not what I see around me. I'm not the people in my family. I'm not my friends. I'm who God said that I am. And because of that, I can have the faith to look into adversity. I can have the faith to look into, uncharted territories, just like you were talking about. I have the faith to say, all right, all of this is on my shoulders. All of this is affecting me. I'm not from the front like, it wasn't, it was easy. No, like all of this is affecting me. This is killing me. I'm depressed. Like I'm suffering of, like identity crisis. I'm like, all of this is true. But God is here. And what I got from that is God's presence does not mean the absence of adversity. And a lot of people feel that way. It's like, if God's there, adversity shouldn't be there too. Right. Wait a minute. Like nah. God, you in my life, and
like you want to attract God, get in the storm.
Right. Because
come right there.
Where is a miracle going to be performed? Not in a sunny day. You can't pray to God for a miracle and then not have
the conditions that create
miracles. Right. The condition that creates miracle is an intense need. It's agony. It's pain. It's a need for a savior.
Yeah. Kind of shift gears a little bit. You're in a space and place that's very unique, and so there are not a lot of men who look like you, right, in your space. And so, can you speak to some of the complexities where it's like, hey man, I feel like I graduated, I did what I was supposed to do, and then when you get in a certain space, people think that certain troubles are not going to be there, certain issues won't be there, and when you encounter them, what is it like encountering those conflicts?
So success dehumanizes you to people that haven't reached that amount of success. So people will never feel empathetic about you if they feel like your life is in a better position than you, because they're considering where they're at. Right, compared to where you're at. Comparison, right. So like empathy really is usually extended to people below you, but never above you. And not like in the sense of like I'm better than anyone or anything like that.
Right.
We're all human. We all bleed the same way, you know, all of that. But when people view you that way, so they will be like, yeah, well, you know, you call them with problems, or, you know, or you call them with what's on your plate. First thing they're probably going to say is, you know, man, you'll be all right. You know, you got a new house, or you'll be all right. You know, you know, you're doing well. You know, you're this, and the third. And it's like, well, it doesn't allow you the grace or the empathy that really, you know, gives you the opportunity to be human. So now it's like, yeah, when you go through things, it's like, yeah, you're just strong enough to get through them because people have seen you get through them.
Wow. So you're saying other people's perceptions of you, in a way, when you reach out to those same people, their perception of you and not giving you access to empathy will hold you hostage to the state that they think you're in, and not give you that.
It's an expectation for you because you've made it through. People have seen you make it through what you've made it through,
and so in their eyes, you made it.
Right.
You shouldn't have no problems.
You don't have any problems anymore. And if you do have problems, your problems are smaller than my problems. Like, if you do have problems, it's someone that wants to be in your position. So you should be grateful for your problems. And while all those things could be true, yeah, like, you know, it is a kid that wants to be here. That doesn't really take away the, you know, the effect of, you know, what I'm going through. Like, that doesn't really, you know, change things from my lens and my perspective. But, you know, that's as far as people can see. You know, and that's not, you know, there's no knock to people, but that's just the space that you're in when you are the first one going through things. And like, that's what we're talking about. When you're the first one navigating through those things, you also are navigating those things with no grace from people.
Wow.
Like, with no complete background of like understanding, because if they can't understand, they can't empathize. And the first thing people do to things that they don't understand, they dehumanize them. Just that's why black people are dehumanized. We're not gonna get into that. But anything you don't understand, they try to attack it or they try to dehumanize it. So if you are navigating these spaces for the first time, one, you're navigating with a little understanding. You're also navigating with no one to guide you in these. You also are navigating with no model of these things, and then you're also navigating with people that can't truly support, you know, where you're going, and it makes it such a burden, and it alienates you in a sense, and for the people that you do meet, right? So for me, the people that I do meet along the way, and I do have people that's from where I'm from that add a lot of value to my life. This is not to say, well, you know, like you just leave there and then, you know, nobody's there to work or anything. Like, I'm still connected with all my day one homies, you know what I'm saying? And some, you know, we have challenges navigating tension, but that just comes with life. But my point is, it puts you in this space. The people that you are meeting now that may understand and may be in the space that you are, that could add value to whatever situation, you have no real connection or bond with, right? So, and then the people that you are comfortable enough to bring into your personal life, to, you know, they may not have the experiences that you have yet. Right. So now you're stuck in between a rock and a hard place. Right. Because are you going to open up into a relationship that you may have not fully fostered and developed because, you know, this is a person that can understand, or are you going to go here to the relationships that you already have and then, you know, express yourself
because familiarity
and not really be felt,
man? So in one space you can either choose to be comfortable, okay, and not grow, but you can have your ego petted a little bit, have your emotions, I guess, fulfilled a little bit, right? Or you can lean into a space where it may take time to curate true emotional connection or true workplace friendship or true friendship or even mentorship that is foreign, but it takes time, and it's going to take another level of investment. It's in one stage of life, it's going to call something from you that you never had to bring forth, you never had to put out, you never had to develop. It's in you, but this here is going to call for something to come out of you that's never been produced. Over here, it's going to call for something that has been, and so it's going to make you digress. It's going to make you take a step back. And so I always tell some of my friends and some of my good people in my community, I say, if you want to know a person that you've connected with, whether they are for you or whether a relationship is purposeful, ask yourself, am I a step closer to becoming the person I desire to be, or am I taking 10 steps back or getting closer to who I used to be or where I came from? And that is a good calibration between someone being a connection and being for you, or a person that's just being a seasonal person, or someone that's just kind of conditional.
Yeah, and to speak to that, I think this year I definitely was presented with a lot of things that I knew that unless I grew into these things, I would not be able to carry these things. And all of those things were centered around family.
Wow.
So, this year I really started just trying to embrace some of my, you talk about breaking generational curses, right?
Yeah.
You have to get into the roots of things, what's going on in your family, what had really held your family hostage for years, decades, and things like long before you, but now because people may have not addressed them, they're still present.
Man,
they still one thing that I really realized is, like, when you're talking about you want to break generational curses, really it's already rooted in you what you're supposed to break, because what you're supposed to break, it will vex your spirit, but everyone else will be comfortable with it.
Hold on, so you said the mindsets that family had before, their norms, the dysfunction, right, the habits, all those things will irritate you.
It will irritate your spirit. It will irritate your soul. Like, whatever you're called to break, it'll piss you off. I just say it like that. If it does, and it's pissing you off. Like, you think it's your emotion, right, that's pissing you off, but it's God leaning you into that situation to care about it, and it makes you're passionate about it. Why are you passionate about it? Because you have the ability. Right. You have the ability and the solutions that are in you, and they may have to be stirred up, and it may have to be a situation that that's beyond where you're at, that makes you have to extend, makes you have to stretch, make you have to grow. But if it's already something in you about your family or a situation that's bothering you, and everyone else has accepted it, whether that's poverty, whether it's a mindset, whether it's this, then that means you're the one that's called to fix it. Because if not, it wouldn't bother you.
Right.
Yeah.
It wouldn't frustrate you.
It wouldn't frustrate you at all.
You wouldn't be asking questions like, why are y'all okay with this?
Right. And the person that, it's a lonely road, and that's why leadership is lonely. And people don't talk about that. They say it's lonely at the top, but leadership is lonely. Being an innovator is lonely. Starting a new movement is lonely. That's what makes people not want to take on that mantle.
Right.
Because a lot of things you're going to have to do on your own. You have to stand on your own 2 feet without anyone backing you. Like, you're going to have to speak to what's wrong without anyone saying
facts.
Right. Without anyone saying, like, you have to just do it for, what God has placed on your heart and what you feel like is right. And you don't have that sense of camaraderie and community when you're challenging the norm, and whatever that may be. And for family, that also can challenge some relationships, because like now it's like, wait a minute, you're speaking against how we always been. This been like this when your grandma was here,
right,
when your granddad was here, this was thought of. Well, that's the point. With all love, with all respect, that's the point. And I'm saying all of this in love, right? Like, I want to see my family free. I want to see my family above and not beneath. I want to see my family the lenders and not the borrowers. But it's a process. We have to go through these things together to get to those places. And I think people are, myself included, we would rather be comfortable in dysfunction rather than uncomfortable in growth.
Yeah, that's true.
Because dysfunction is easy.
Yeah, it's what we used to.
Yeah, dysfunction is easy. But really addressing, mental issues and, emotional issues and all the things that, may be hindering your family, like, that Nobody want to talk about
that. That's hard. You got no cheat sheet for that. You got no help.
Nobody want to talk about that, bro. Like, hey man, got this family lunch, like this dirty laundry in this family. Like, let's address it. Like, nah, that's gonna ruin,
right? You gonna ruin this Christmas. You gonna ruin this bad good thing that we got going. You gonna ruin this bad good thing that we got going.
That's gonna ruin Thanksgiving. Right. That's gonna ruin the pictures.
It's gonna make Auntie uncomfortable.
And it's like, regardless if we're speaking about it, regardless if it's out in the open, all of us are uncomfortable anyway. Internally.
True.
Whether it's getting expressed, we're all uncomfortable. We're all suffering. And for me, I see restoration for my family, right? Yeah. I see restoration for my family situation, and it starts, once again, people before me, when you talk about breaking generational curses, my grandfather on my dad's side, he was incarcerated, right? My dad, he was incarcerated. So me just being a free black man right now, I'm already breaking generational curses.
Yeah.
And my dad's mistakes, right? They actually tore up my family. So not only it's a multi-layered pain that I have to suffer, and a multi-layered cross that I have to bear,
right?
Because I have to take on, one, the fact that what he did, it tore up what I value the most.
Wow.
So I'm a family-oriented man.
Right.
Your selfishness, your decisions, not only did it, take you out of my life and leave a hole in my life, but it also left a hole in my family. And now, you get what I'm saying, I have to live in your shadow.
Right. And you get asked to fill
that void.
The hole, the void that they left.
Right. And for my father, he was more than capable. My father was making six figures before his incarceration. So, it wasn't like he was an unfit, unintelligent type of guy. If he made better decisions, my life would be a lot different, right?
Wow,
and it would be on me. Or, with my grandmother, she's going through her mental health episodes. Now when she's calling, she would be calling you to take care of her because you're her son, instead of calling her grandson. But now those things are falling on my plate. Generational wealth, that gap was started to be bridged if you were still here, but now it's on my plate.
Wow.
And some people could just look at all of those things and not care and be like, I'm good, because I've made it out of college. I went to school. I've been blessed to get a home. I'm blessed to have a certain level of life that, and I can be good. But for me, it never was about me, right? So that's why I'm still here today, and I'm still motivated, and I'm still like in this mode of like, I still have to sacrifice, and I still have to pour. I still have to go deeper, not because it's about uplifting me, like my quality of life, but in order to help others, you have to have an abundance.
Yeah.
In order for me to take care of myself, and then also help my mom or my aunt or this, I have to be in a position to where I'm good, right?
More than enough,
right? Like, not just enough. I can't just get by. I can't just be average, right? So like in the root of my desire and ambition for excellence, it's family. It's the people I love.
Right.
It's the idea of being able to, stand in the gap for people that, have done for me and, have laid out their life before me.
Right.
That whole process, man, really of just coming to the realization that if I don't do it, it doesn't get done.
Man, that's sacrifice. That's the definition of sacrifice.
Like, if I don't do it, it doesn't get done. If I don't start, starting a conversation to mend broken relationships in this family,
right,
it doesn't get done.
Right.
If I don't start praying against, the demons and the generational curses that have broken our family, then it doesn't get done. If I don't start, operating in a higher calling in God, then I'm not going to even be able to lead the family through the things that God has shown me.
Right.
So, for me, it's like, it is on me. Because either you step up to the plate and you take what comes with it, or now that generational curse, it continues on.
Bro. But what you just said reminds me of Joshua. I just thought of Joshua as Moses has ran his leg of the race, and you now have Joshua who is next in line. And Joshua, I think Joshua 1:9, it says pretty much, don't fear because I'm with you always. A moment where Moses is deceased, he's gone, and now Joshua it's on his shoulders now to lead a nation after the one who did it before him. Those are huge shoes to fill. And so I thought of Joshua when you start talking about that, as far as we have to have a mentality in our families like, hey, listen, I don't have time to wait to initiate a conversation or to demonstrate new perspective, new habits, new aspects or new active ingredients to put into our family so that our family can grow and our family can evolve. And it doesn't have to be just what worked, how Moses led wouldn't have worked for how Joshua led. Right. So Joshua had to lead based off of where he was and what he was designed for, what he was called to be. And so, yeah, man, I think that's so imperative for all of us to take ownership of the part we play, because that's just it. It's just a part we play. It's just a part.
And that yes, man, to that part is key. Because even though it's my responsibility, it's not my fight.
Man.
So I understand that it's not gonna be me that gets this battle done. It's gonna be God working through me. But in order for God to work through me, I have to say yes to the process.
That yes is huge.
That yes is huge.
It's everything.
And in looking at these, like, once again, the situation and the circumstances, this is faith being used, because anybody in their right mind, knowing the situation that my family is in, wouldn't believe that, oh, well, y'all will be reconciled. Or y'all will be all back together in one happy family. And a lot of people that I have to have those uncomfortable conversations with, they share that same sentiment. Like, hell no. Hell no. Like, nah, we good. And it's like, that's hard because you have to believe for other people.
Yeah.
And you have to believe past your own hurt. You have to believe past all of that. But if God is for you, He can be against you, man. And like, if He brought me out of that crazy situation there, I believe He can bring my family out of the crazy situation that we're facing. But what was the ingredient here? Faith. So what the ingredient, if it ain't broke, don't break it. Right. Faith, like faith. And I'm locked in on faith. Anybody I talk to that knows, my story, I'm claiming, that I'm not, God gonna do it.
Right.
Like, God gonna do it. I don't have to do it. I just have to say yes. I just have to be willing. I just have to allow Him to use me. But I think even in that aspect, you have to go further to lead.
Yeah, you
can't lead
side by side.
Yeah, you can't lead side by side.
Right.
So if I haven't grown in my spiritual understanding, and my knowledge, and my relationship, and in my love, and my forgiveness, and in my level of reconciliation, how can I lead? How can I even, do anything important in those things into people that may not be where I'm at, that may not see the vision that I see? Right. So my desire to grow this year has been all about family ties. Man. And it's been one of the most uncomfortable seasons of my life.
I can imagine.
The most uncomfortable. And I mean, the thing is that when you make that decision, life doesn't stop.
It don't.
When you make that decision to say, I'm gonna grow in my faith.
But your boss don't stop asking you for projects.
It does.
Coworkers don't stop making you upset.
They don't.
Right.
Temptation doesn't stop. Actually, temptation accelerates.
Yeah.
The
heat turns up.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because devil like, oh, bet you finna live for God. Okay, cool. Let's send 3 of them today.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, He's after your faith. He's after your witness.
And after what you're carrying.
Right.
Because the very thing you're carrying is the very thing that unlocks it all.
For not just me, for a lot of other people. And I believe God to use me for that. And I believe that's why my path and my journey has not been nowhere near easy, man. It's not because I'm so special.
Right.
Well, I'm better than this person. I'm the one. And it's because what God has attached to my life and attached to my purpose is not just about me. It won't just free me. It's going to free my father. It's going to free my brother.
Yeah.
It's going to free my cousins.
Yeah.
It's going to free my aunties.
Yeah.
And so it's like, wait a minute. If you get it, then all of them get free. Your life going to be hell, my brother.
Yeah.
We not even finna let you get off like that. Like,
right.
You can't do it. So we gonna try to get you at 13, and we're gonna come back at 18. We're gonna keep spinning the block because we're not gonna let you get this out.
Right.
And I think when you talk about that, that's the spiritual part of it. Because you talk about navigating without people to advise you and guide you.
That's point of reference.
Yeah,
right?
the point of reference. Like, that's one part of it. That's the the carnal part, right, or the worldly part. But the spiritual part is once you have accepted that and you're walking in that, you're a target spiritually.
Absolutely,
you're a target.
Walking target. Yeah,
you are a walking target. So the battles that you face, sometimes some of the demons that you face, it's not even about you. Like, those aren't at your door because of you.
Right.
That's because, wait a minute, you trying to do a little too much here, bro. You know what I'm saying? So we gotta get you.
You shaking up the family tree. Wait a minute.
So the spiritual battle on your life is increased. Because of the spiritual breakthrough that you may produce.
And speaking of that breakthrough, when you said spiritual breakthrough, I thought about how whenever we make it through moments, we become walking, living evidence that God's faith and God's love and God's purpose will come to pass. It is real. It becomes tangible. Your life makes the unseen seen. Like, your life, your process makes the unfathomable, the things that were unthought of, it makes it tangible. It makes it real. Yeah. And so I think if we think about the things that are on the line, once we make it, we become evidence. And so people start getting curious. Whenever there's something that's unbelievable, you start to ask questions. Yeah. How? Who? Yeah. When? But you? Yeah. And so I think, for sure, I think those are the things that unlock the opportunities for us to connect with our family and say, hey, Brandon, you used to get heated about that. Hey, man, why are you so patient? And so when we start to reintroduce ourselves to our family and we start to have these interactions and letting them in on our world, we don't assimilate back to what they're comfortable with, but we encourage, really, literally inside of courage, we pull them and show them what our world looks like. When your family came and visited you, right? I think they came and visited you recently. What was that like, being able to show them some things about where you're at? And so what was it like seeing their responses? And just, can you speak to that for a moment? What was it like when they came and visited you?
My family, they crazy, bro. They crazy. I'm probably the least crazy out of people in there. If you meet me in real life, you'll probably think he a little, hey, but nah, man. It was great just to see their expressions and how proud they are of me. That was one of the most empowering feelings, man. Right. Just to see your family just here and just really celebrating your wins with you, and your blessings with you. I do realize that they saw an increased level of patience because it was probably 20 plus people here. Wow. Right? So
you're one.
I'm one.
You one of one.
I'm hosting. Yeah, I'm hosting 20 black people now. From the hood.
South.
Hey. Negroes. 20 Negroes. I'm gonna keep it. I'm keep it fair. 20 Negroes. So and we very opinionated. They're gonna let you know how they feel, you know what I'm saying? So it's those type of people.
Right. Zero filters.
Yeah, zero filters, none. So I think it showed a level of maturity and patience. And I just even remember some of my cousins saying y'all getting on his nerves. I can tell. But I was navigating it with grace. It's one person, hey, I need this, or where this, or where that, or where's this place, and where's this place. And, it was really, a lot, honestly, to the point where when they left, I was finally able to just get a deep breath, but I wouldn't, want it any other way for my family. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I think they definitely, saw that and they felt that.
Bro, when they pulled up to the crib, they walked in. Wait.
Man. So I actually was at work when they first pulled up, but when I got here, man, they all was just, cracking jokes like, "Oh, you the Black Bill Gates of the family."
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Let me hold some. That type of stuff. Like, and man, it just was good. It was just good to see. And like I through the side conversation, man, people would just really just come and talk to me and like, man, like you made it. Or like, man, my uncle, love my Uncle Wayne, bro. That's my guy. Crazy as a road lizard, man. Like, but nowadays, man, he talked to me with so much wisdom, and I can tell he's trying to pass legacy to me in this season. And
you've been a place where you've given him permission.
Yeah, and it's
to
like
pour that in. Yeah,
hearing Wayne, Wayne is like, wait,
right.
You talking with substance today? Like, you know what I'm saying? So, but like, man, I remember, one time I was calling home, and I think this is like when I first closed, and he was just talking to my mom in the background as I'm talking to her, and like he tear up, just saying like how proud he was of me, and like he telling everybody like where we from, like about his nephew, and like it's just like that sense of pride that people have for you when you come from where you come from, man. Like my family is the backbone of that, man. So it's like that's a family everything to me. Like family is everything, and it's as complex as this, the family aspect really is. Where it's like you got the trauma, you got the issues, you got the love, you got the pain. It's so many different layers.
Bro, this has been an amazing conversation.
Man, for sure.
Like, if y'all have heard some things that really spoke to you, make sure you like, share, comment this. Maybe have a discussion with one of your family members or friends after hearing this episode of Perspective. If anybody wants to connect with you outside of here, what are some of your social media handles?
Oh yeah, Instagram, Twitter, __1 of 1, and on 1 is ONE of the number 1 __. And that's on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to find me on Facebook, Brandon McNeal. I don't have any other social medias. Yeah.
Anything going on right now as far as whether it's work, play, education wise?
I am at SMU right now. I'm getting my master in science in computer science with a concentration in artificial intelligence. So that's what I'm working towards right now. So got some big things coming up in the future. Got some big interviews. Yeah, but I don't want to talk about that. We're gonna be talking about that.
Success, man.
Yeah.
It's been another episode of Perspective. I'm your host Tyrell, my guest Brandon.
Boy.
Hope that after this episode, you're a step closer to impacting and changing the world around you. Guys, we'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Show. I like it, man. I like it, bro. I like it, man. I could have easily said, God, where you at in this? I'm done with this guy. Like my whole life taken away from me. Nobody's hearing me out. I'm abandoned. I'm walking here. I'm this, and the third. God, you're not here. Faith, I'm cool on it. Church, I'm cool on it. Listening to adults, I'm cool. Like I could have made all of those decisions.
That's true.
And my life would have looked totally different.
Yeah.
Right, you get what I'm saying? But where I really started to lean into things that I can't see, which is my faith. So now, like, with the foundation there being in a way worse situation than I am in, maybe today, some things I might navigate today, it's like, well, if I could see that things would be better in that situation at the absolute lowest form of my life or time of my life, then what is it for me to see it now?